A Índia criou uma campanha para incentivar consumo de açúcar no país. O excesso de produção doméstica é o motivo que levou à ação que busca acabar com os mitos sobre o açúcar e seus efeitos na saúde. Catiúcia Sotomayor conversou sobre esse e outros assuntos relacionados ao agronegócio com o embaixador do país aqui no AgroMais. Acompanhe.
Índia e Brasil compartilham vários desafios e agora também diversos acordos de cooperação, inclusive no agro. Para falar sobre isso, nós recebemos agora o embaixador da Índia no Brasil, Suresh Reddy. Ele ingressou no Serviço de Relações Exteriores da Índia em 1991 e entre os diversos cargos relevantes que ocupou, foi chefe de gabinete do ministro do Estado das Relações Exteriores no país. Welcome, Your Excellency. Thank you very much for your presence.
Thank you so much, Kachuswa. And I must also thank AgroMais for inviting me here today. And indeed, this is I've spent about a month here in Brazil, and with each day I'm recognizing the important role of agriculture in Brazil, and so I must really compliment the wonderful work being done by AgroMais in this space.
Thank you very much. First of all, we'd like to know the role of agriculture and agribusiness in India's economy.
Thank you. I'm able to appreciate the contribution being made by AgroMais because I come from a country which is basically agriculture dominated economy, if I may say so. When you talk of India, the numbers are big, and so don't be surprised if I give you some of these numbers. We would be having about 800 million people who are dependent upon agriculture, which is roughly 4 times the population of Brazil. And in terms of the land mass, I think it has the world's second largest land devoted to agriculture. In terms of GDP contribution to the GDP, what we call the value addition, last year it was estimated to be about $290 billion is the value addition of agriculture. And we are perhaps the largest producer of food grains, largest producer of horticulture. We have the world's largest number of animal herds, you name it. In every product, practically India is either in the top 1, 2, or 3 by virtue of the sheer size of the country.
Our president was in your country earlier this year. And what are the connections, what are the opportunities that we share, that Brazil and India are going to share because of that?
The president's visit was a very historical visit. It has opened a new chapter in our relations. It has given focus to a lot of areas of cooperation. It has given a new dynamism, a new impetus to our bilateral relations. We are focusing quite strongly on strengthening the strategic partnership, which includes the defense, of course, and defense military cooperation. Because we believe Brazil has quite an advanced defense industry. Similarly, India has also an advanced defense industry. We believe there is scope for both industries to cooperate. We are also looking at strengthening our cooperation in areas such as communications and ICT. And one important area is in biofuels. That is an important area in which we have agreed to strengthen, and we have signed some agreements also on that. In fact, the Minister for Agriculture, she had visited India, where she had some very good meetings with Indian businessmen and also with our Indian associations and with the Indian Minister for Agriculture. And both have agreed on how we can strengthen this partnership in agriculture.
And what about the fact that both countries are in the BRICS? And how are the challenges? Can we say they are the same to both countries?
It is interesting because BRICS, when it was established as countries which were reflecting the future. The countries of the future is how they were being described because of their economic potential and growth. And an important element in that is we are also the biggest consumers as with the largest population, and we are also the biggest producers of agricultural commodities. India, Brazil, China, we put together, and South Africa and Russia. We are some of the biggest producers of agricultural commodities. And so it was perceived there is a lot we can learn from each other. There are areas in which we can strengthen our cooperation, including in technology, sharing of technology, sharing of capacity, what we call capacity building, sharing of experiences, sharing of expertise, and developing the capacities in each other institutions. So there are a lot of cooperation which is happening in the field of agriculture also.
You already told about the cattle. We know you have the largest herd, and we are just quite there, almost there. But how could we work together in this matter, for example?
You know, when I see the cattle here, I find it a really pleasant surprise, because Gir and the Nellore, which are in Brazil, you know, to think that they came from India, but today they have developed into such large, beautiful animals. I must really appreciate and admire the success of the Brazilian scientists. They have done a remarkable job, you know, in developing the cattle to what they are. Not only in terms of the size, in terms of the content meat, but also in terms of the productivity per cattle, you know, per cow. The amount of milk which is produced per cow here is naturally much higher, and we believe there's a lot of scope for India to benefit from the technology which Brazil has developed in this space. And in this regard, we have signed an agreement, and we are looking at sharing the experiences, and we are looking at setting up a center of excellence in India with the cooperation of Brazil, so that we could do some joint research and develop, you know, the cattle of the future, so to say, jointly.
And we can talk about sharing, for example, technology too. You just told me that you have a new platform between Indian and Brazilian startups. Talk a little bit about that, please.
Well, I'm glad you raised this point, because you know, tomorrow what we are doing is that we are trying to see if we can provide a bridge between the startups on both sides. In India, we have something like 37,000 startups. It's the world's third largest ecosystem. And Brazil also has a healthy number of startups, about 2,500. And these startups essentially came about to fill a need felt by the community, by the people. And the challenges of both sides are same. You know, the governments are trying to provide various services. The government is trying to provide governance at the doorstep. And these startups are filling in the gaps so that they are also complementing the government's efforts. And we, as I said, we are trying to see how we can connect the startups on both sides. And so we're establishing a new platform. This new platform is being established by Apex Brazil and Invest India, connecting the startups on both sides. And we believe this would enable sharing of experiences and, importantly, enable the startups in Brazil also to reach out to Indian investors.
When we talk about the context of agribusiness, you think it's going to be important too?
The agri-tech has today become one of the important areas in the startup space. We have something like 250 to 300, around 250 startups in India, which is focusing on agriculture, the agri-tech startups. And similarly in Brazil also there are about 75 startups. And I believe there's a lot of scope for them to cooperate and collaborate because the challenges are somewhat similar for both sides in the space of agriculture also.
Another subject that we would like to address is the campaign that is happening in India to promote the use of sugar because of the excess of the production, right? Could you explain to us what is going on there?
It is an interesting point as to today when the whole world is talking of stopping consumption of sugar, and here we have an organization which is trying to promote consumption of sugar. I should say this is called the Indian Sugar Mills Association. This is perhaps the oldest association in the sugar industry globally. This was established in 1932. And 1957, India started exporting sugar. And that was initiated only by this association. So you can understand the role being played by this institution. They have all the major sugar producers as the members. In India, we have about 50 million plus farmers who are involved in this sector, in the sugar production sector. And I was just seeing some numbers before coming here. I think starting from this April till next March, we are looking at producing something like 32 million tons of sugar, which is quite a large number, 32 million tons of sugar. And out of which we expect something like 2 million tons of sugar to be made available for ethanol, And so balance would be 30 million tons of sugar which is going to be available for both domestic consumption and for exports. We are looking at having quite a healthy exports of about 7 million tons, I think. I would need to actually verify the latest numbers, but that is what we were talking about. Now, what has happened is was that because of various reasons, people stopped consuming sugar because there's a belief that sugar leads to all the related health issues. And so they recognized that what was leading to health issues was not consumption of sugar, but excess consumption of sugar, so to say. So they wanted people to understand that it is not bad to consume sugar, but to consume it in the right way and be active also. So that is what they're trying to do. They're trying to create the correct understanding of how to use sugar in the people's life, because they want people to also enjoy their life, not be deprived of sugar in their life, right? At the end of the day, sugar adds sweetness to their life. So that is what they're trying to do. Just create a better understanding of how to consume sugar.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador, for making the time to be here with us and for all the information.
My thanks to you. It's been a good conversation. Thank you.
E obrigada a você pela companhia. A gente se vê.